Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Padawan Unlimited podcast, YouTube edition. Thank you all for joining. I am your host, Gil, as usual. Before we begin and talk about kind of the draft strategies, my first thoughts on them, I want to give a shout out to all of you subscribers out there. I started this YouTube channel a couple months ago, and I've been organically gaining followers, not purchasing them like some other folks. And I'm loving the engagement. And we hit 30. That's I think to me a pretty good milestone. So thank you all for your participation. Thank you for subscribing. I hope I do a good job for you and you all learn something because I'm also learning from you as well. So again, just want to give a quick shout out before we begin. And so for our topic today, we're talking about draft targets. First thoughts. I've done one draft. I did a sealed event. I'm going to do more sealed events and more drafts as time goes on. But just like I did in my podcast, I want to just share what I think are some good cards to kind of target when you're doing your drafts, so that you can win and hopefully get some prizes. So let's start. The first thing I want to talk about is I'm going to just share one card per color or aspect because I don't want to get too deep into this with this only being the first kind of week that things have been going out. And I'm not saying like these are like the best out of all the cards in the draft, but these are generally going to be commons and uncommons that should be able to be on the board. So you're not necessarily relying on rare cards, right? I'm not going to talk about like a Jyn Erso or something like that, who's a rare red card that might be good because you probably won't be able to just get her on any random draft. So these are all cards that I think are really good targets and really going to help you win some games as you kind of do your draft. So for Vigilance, the first one I want to talk about is Outspoken Representative. I've used this twice in a row now. It's really come in really handy, although it doesn't do one damage. Because this set has a lot of tokens, you're pretty much going to have one on the board already. And so this becomes a Sentinel. And then when defeated, you're already getting a 2/2 back. So I think you're getting a 2-for-1 essentially for this card with a Sentinel, which I think is really fantastic. The second one I want to talk about is a Republic Tactical Officer. And even though it's not necessarily really powerful in that it only does one damage and has 4 health, it has a wind plate ability that's really, really powerful, in my opinion. It gives you that little bit of reach to take down any bigger targets or even hit the base right at the end. You get to attack with a Republic unit and it gets +2 for this attack. Huge. I mean, if you think about it, you're making your token unit like a 4/4/2, on really early, and I think that's really again really powerful. Really helps you reach. Third card here in term for aggression is Anakin's Interceptor. Now I know this is uncommon, so it's not necessarily on every you know draft pack, but if you can get this, I would, and you're going for red and you're playing aggression, do it. Because Anakin's Interceptor is like to me, this sets A-Wing. It's 2/3, right? Which is already pretty good, right? And it only costs two, but then it has four tags: Jedi, Republic, Vehicle, Fighter. And then its other abilities when you have a base of when your base has 15 or more damage on it, which frankly it's going to happen by probably resource 5 or 6 in a draft. It gets +2, so it becomes a 4/3, and space isn't really powerful in this set, in my opinion, like the lower tier space. So you're gonna get some damage already on the board. You're probably gonna get probably 4 to 6 right off the bat without even using Republic Tactical Officer, for example, just base. And then once you get further, you're gonna catch up, which for me has been really, really powerful. And then for cunning, hidden sharpshooter. Now, I think there are better ones out there in terms of commons and uncommons to target, but for now, this one's a very easy win for you. It's Republic Clone Trooper. It's everything you need. It has no heroism, right? And or villainy, so it goes in any cunning deck, which is fantastic. 4/3, so it's really powerful, and it has ambush, which which means that you're going to be able to potentially wipe a token out so they can't exploit, or probably take out a heavy unit like a Shock T on the other side with the 4 damage, and then ideally you're going to have some type of return with some type of coordinate ability, like if you play Rex as a leader. But I've seen hidden sharpshooter be really good, not just in the decks that I played in drafts, but also other people using it. I think it's a really good draft target. So I think overall, these are pretty easy targets for you to obtain in any draft, and I think you're gonna do well picking some of these cards. The next thing I want to talk about is just cards that I think are traps. And I'm not saying they're bad, like overall. What I'm saying is that these cards that I'm about to share with you, I mean, seem really good on the surface, but I feel like you're probably, I mean, depending on your playstyle, you're probably going to end up resourcing these, or you're going to lose tempo in the draft in a draft game, and it's gonna pull you back. And I don't think the return on investment for these cards when you're drafting is as optimal as it can be. Again, not saying they're bad, like as cards, but I think for draft, there are probably better picks. So the first one I want to talk about is Guarding the Way. Now, on the surface, this seems good. You have a unit sentinel for this phase. You have an initiative. You get +2/+2 for this phase. I think for something like this, I mean, giving something sentinel is good, as like a kind of an out, right? And it's nice that it's only blue, it's not heroism or villainy, but I mean, those tokens are gonna be lost anyway. I just think it a two cost at this point is you could might as well use something else, right? You might as well pay for another unit if you can, or use your leader's ability rather than just giving a unit sentinel. And then if you have initiative, it gets +2/+2, which is good, but again, you need to have initiative. And again, these are conditional aspects to a card that I think complicates the game for you instead of you just hitting that base as fast as you can. So I think again, to me it's like a little bit of a red herring. Encouraging leadership, give each friendly unit +1/+1 for this phase. Now, I think this is really good, just like I think this is okay as a card just in general for like a constructed deck, but for draft specifically, there's a lot of better 3-drop opportunities out there. And then you have to think about if will you have enough units on the board. Now you probably will, because if you probably will if you have the cards like drop in, which give you 2 more clone tokens, or you can just generate new things, or like your opponent's not controlling you. But again, there's probably other options out there that are better for a 3-drop than just giving +1 to every other unit. Now it could be potentially useful for your battle droids if you're like on the uh on the on the villainy side. Um, but I just think you're losing tempo here to get +1/+1 on the board when your opponent's gonna probably wipe them out beforehand anyway. And it's only for a phase, so again, temporary. The third thing that I think is a trap is Grim Resolve for aggression. Attack with a non-linear unit. It gains grit for this attack. I think the auto attack is great and it gets grit, but I think this is more of a constructed card, not necessarily draft, because there's a lot of setup here, and because this set has tokens, a lot of things are low to the ground. So you might get, if you're especially if you're the heroism side with a lot of clones or just clones in general, okay, you might get a +1, so it becomes a 3/1 uh um uh a clone to clone unit. But again, I just don't think there's too much setup here that doesn't make this necessarily super worth it. Again, and it's very situational. So again, I think it's a trap for draft specifically. So the last card I want to talk about is Political Pressure. It's a 1 cost. Choose an opponent. They may discard a random card from their hand. If they don't, create 2 Battle Droid tokens. Now, this seems more like a Twin Suns card because it says choose an opponent. And then also, uh, you know, they may discard a random card from their hand. If they don't, they pretty much will, I think, because I don't think if the player is smart, there's no scenario where they're going to give you the tempo on the board to give you 2 Battle Droid tokens, which you could upgrade or power up and or use to exploit. So it's a 1 cost that I think is more geared towards another play style. And I think most players are gonna just discard a card anyway because they don't want to change the tempo on the board. So it's just kind of a waste it's kind of a waste of space, to be frank. And I found myself actually resourcing it a lot too because I used it at one time, and what do? They discard a card. I think that's really pretty much what's going to be the outcome for this for political pressure at any given time. And that's it. So again, hopefully this was very helpful. Again, these are just first thoughts on draft strategies, and cards to target, cards to kind of like remove from your view, if you are drafting. Hope this helps. please, if you have any different thoughts or opinions, or you think there's should be better cards for me to target or for anyone to target, share it in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, tell your friends. Until next time, may the force be with you.